Good evening. I'm Gina Roberts, Voter Education Director for the Citizens Clean Elections Commission. As the state's only nonpartisan voter education agency, Clean Elections is proud to sponsor these debates. Our mission is to ensure that you have the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates, ask questions about the issues that impact your life, and head to the polls with confidence. To make sure your voice is heard, please keep these upcoming deadlines in mind. June 22nd is the voter registration deadline, June 24th, early voting begins, and July 21st is primary election day. A quick reminder, all registered voters, including independents, are eligible to vote in the upcoming primary election. If you're watching this debate live, we want to hear from you. You can submit a question for the candidates at any time using one of the following methods. You can email debates@kc-a.com. You can text 480-769-9511 or phone 480-937-1253. Thank you for joining us and for staying engaged in our democracy. For more resources to help you prepare for the upcoming July 21st primary election, please visit our website at azcleanelections.gov. Enjoy the debate.
Good evening and welcome to the Arizona Clean Elections Debate for Legislative District 1, the Republican primary. I'm Nicole Ludden, a reporter with the Arizona Agenda, and I'll be your moderator. Tonight, you're going to hear from Shondell Wildman, one of the three candidates running in the Republican Party primary for the seats that represent the House's Legislative District 1 at the state capitol. Selena Bliss and Huang Wen, the other two candidates in this contested GOP primary for the district's two House seats, had planned to be here tonight, but they got stuck at the state capitol voting for the budget. Because of that, we'll be doing a Q&A with the candidate rather than a debate format. Legislative District 1 encompasses a big chunk of northern Arizona, including almost all of Yavapai County from about Black Canyon City through Cottonwood, Prescott, Sedona, and up to Ash Fork. This is an important primary election because the district is overwhelmingly Republican, meaning the winners of the Republican primary have a strong chance at becoming the district's next lawmakers. Voters in this district will elect one state senator and two state representatives, and the candidates are competing on the same ballot to make it through to the primary. According to recent polling of voters in this district, the issues most on voters' minds are education, elections, and the economy. We'll get to those tonight. Here's how tonight's Q&A will go. We'll start off with a 90-second opening statement. We'll spend a few minutes getting to know who the candidate is as a person. Then we'll dig into how she would address the core issues facing this district. We'll ask how she would have voted on a real bill from this session, and we'll close out with a round of rapid-fire statements. And then we'll finish with a quick closing statement. All right, Shondell Wildman, thank you so much for being here. We'll start with a 90-second opening statement. If you want to tell the voters who you are and why you're running.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you to Clean Elections for the opportunity to run as a Clean Elections candidate. I'm thankful. I'm one of those people that would not have been able to run if Clean Elections Commission didn't make the opportunity available. So I'm very thankful. So I'm asking people as I'm going around, if you would rather believe a beautiful lie or know an ugly truth, if you would rather be managed or represented. I'm running for LD1 because I believe that we here would rather have ugly truths, because with ugly truths, we can turn things around and make sense of what we have to work with. So rather than having things covered and putting us in further danger, I am taking the position of a watchman who is on the look to be vigilantly observing and faithfully reporting, sounding a clear alarm in danger, courageously speaking truth, and serving my community rather than managing it.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and get into the first round of questions. But first, a quick reminder, viewers, you can submit a question at any time by emailing debates@kc-a.com. You can text 480-769-9511 or call 480-937-1253. All right, this first segment is about who you are, not your policy positions, but what shaped you, how you think, and who you'd be once in office. First up, outside of raising your family, what's something you've built, started, or led that you're proud of, and what did it teach you?
There are two things off the top, outside of my family, of course. My husband and I bought a publishing business. We built it to do two publications that ran concurrently. In Yavapai County, we covered most of Yavapai County. We worked together, stayed married, and had a good time doing it. The other thing is I was an Awana leader, eventually became an Awana director, and that's a ministry reaching out to children ages 3 through even post high school, where we had a leadership and training opportunity. So I helped with that. I worked with that ministry across the state of Arizona and took children, well, they were high schoolers, took them for a competition on a national and international scene. And it was just an absolute joy and a real blessing to be able to pour into the lives of young people. And with our paper, we got to inform the community of things going on and things that are important. I'd like to put quotes from founding fathers in there, and I like to put things that would help families and people who would like to think. Let's just think for a minute before we go off into one direction or another. So I like to encourage people to do their best and be their best and to serve others.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you describe a time in the last 2 years when you changed your mind on something political and what changed it?
Oh, so we've been through things, right? As Americans, we've been through things. And the political landscape has seemed to be moving under our feet faster than what we could keep up with. So it became more important than ever to find our moorings and to just stick with what we know is right. And so I've always believed that the Constitution is our guiding star. It has value from the beginning. It's still valuable today. And I'm even more convinced now than ever before that we need our Constitution. And so I don't know that that's changed for me as much as I have just become even more determined that that needs to be front and center when we are electing someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to turn now to the issues voters care about most, more policy-specific questions. First up, what do you see as the biggest affordability issue facing families in your district, and what would you actually push for at the legislature to make life cheaper?
Life has never been cheap, and it's certainly not cheaper, and it doesn't look like it's going to be cheaper. I could give you, for instance, one of my sons who lives in the county makes very good money, single, no children. He works very hard, and he's frustrated along with others his age. It took till he was in his mid-30s to get into a home. And that was having no bills, no debt, no responsibilities financially other than he could just sock money away. And on the other side of that, my youngest son actually had to leave Arizona because the pay and the housing were unaffordable to him. He's doing great in Texas, where he found a job in the same industry, making probably 5 times what he was making here, a house that costs less than half of houses that he didn't even want to live in. And so we really do need to address affordability for young people. The other thing that is a concern for me is people who own their homes. They've worked hard, they've done the right things, they own their homes, but they're at risk of losing their homes because of escalating property taxes. And then their income as fixed income, and maybe they've done investments, but it's still fixed, whatever it is. And we can be outpriced. You know, the homeless population, there are seniors living in cars and the family doesn't know. So we are in a real pickle here, but I believe there are solutions. One of the things that I talked about with someone recently was, do you remember if you were to go through, say, an old town where they have the old main street and you would have the shops and stores, and then above them you had living quarters. So what if we borrow a page from that and we take the existing buildings we have and then see about putting housing on top of that? Maybe it would be starter homes, maybe it would be apartment type things. I don't have all of the details worked out, but it seems like we have real estate above rooftops that we're not looking at. Those are places where permits have already been pulled, the dirt work's been done, the infrastructure's been put in, water and electric. Things have already been put in place. And of course, they would need to have new permits and things done accordingly. But what if we look at doing something like that to keep our young people here close to home if they would like to stay home, and maybe seniors who can't afford, to stay in their home because property taxes are pushing them out. Let's look for some affordability options.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to move on to elections here. Republicans have called for ending mail-in voting and moving to single-day, hand-counted paper ballots.
Yes.
But most Republican voters in Arizona vote by mail. So would you vote to end mail-in voting? And what do you say to the Republican voters who depend on it?
Well, if we look at our Constitution, right, the U.S. Constitution, voting is one day. And I'll be absolutely transparent. I have never mailed a ballot in. I believe that it's a fail safe for people who, for whatever reason, it's an emergency situation. Of course, we have our military and people that just is really the only option. I remember and still enjoy the pride and joy of standing in line and chatting with other patriotic Americans that are there for the day to vote. Now, I do understand about 80% of Arizonans prefer the mail-in. We have a lot of retired people in my community. People travel, and it's a convenient option. However, I think we have to make a decision as a state. Is it more important to us to have a convenience, or is it more important to us to have the integrity of the election preserved? So the longer the vote sits somewhere, the longer the chances are something could maybe not be quite what we thought should be. So I would be interested in helping people to understand the value of moving back to that one day. I like President Trump's idea of making it a holiday, so you have the day off work. And I come from a long line of veterans. My family served in the military all the way back to the First Continental Line in the American Revolution. And great prices were paid, not just by my family, but many families, right? This is something they fought for and died for and were maimed for and suffered for, to be able to have our voice to determine who has say over us. And if we're not willing to protect that, I have to question what our real values are. I'm not judging. I understand life is busy. Things happen. You've got people in hospitals and there are things that go on. But if we could begin to migrate back towards that day where we have one day, we meet our neighbors down at the polls, and we maybe still talking about what we're going to vote for and how we would like to see things different. It's a great place to foster communication with those close to us. We might not ever have met those people. Maybe we just made a new best friend, right? So I'd like to see that happen. The integrity of our election deserves the full effort that we can bring to it, so that we can all be confirmed that our vote went the way we meant it to go, and we get the representation we have chosen.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you would support banning no excuse early voting.
Well, I don't know that I want to say banning, because the voters did put this as it was a referendum. And this is something the voters wanted. And it could once again become a referendum to turn it back. And it may be something that people want to do a little bit at a time. Now, as a representative, I totally support what they want to do. It was a referendum. They voted. They got what they wanted. I'm just saying, from a practical place, should we just take a look at how well that's actually working? And is that early voting in the very best interest of election integrity? It's a question we need to ask and answer, each of us for ourselves, and collectively too.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, that's a pretty contentious issue that's come up at the legislature the past couple of years in election integrity.
Yes.
Given the divided nature of the legislature right now, are there any issues you can think of specifically that you'd be willing to cross the aisle to get done?
So as far as crossing an aisle, I'll tell you, I've had a really interesting experience out meeting people. Democrats have come out to see me, and I've come across Democrats. And, we all love our country. We just see how we would solve things differently, right? And so I've asked them time and again, do you miss the Constitution? Because I know I do. We had a Constitution firmly in place, and we've chipped away at it. I asked them, do you miss the Constitution? And every single time they say, yes, I miss the Constitution. And by the time we finished our conversation, many of them have said, I hope you make it through the primary because I would love to vote for you in the general election. So I don't know that it's reaching across the aisle so much as it's just coming back to common ground. We have a constitution, and can we agree that we love our country and we want to uphold our constitution? So if we filter things through the constitution first, that will take care of a lot of extraneous things that are not necessarily in our best interest. That's my position.
Gotcha. And that being said, you are challenging two pretty well-established lawmakers right now who are currently C-mates, obviously running on a ticket together. Why do you think that voters should select you to fill one of those spots?
Well, I operate differently. So one of the things, if you would be maybe kind of behind your question, maybe asking the question of how am I different? Why should people look at me? Because I might be doing things a little differently. One of the things I'm doing differently and have been doing differently and will continue to do differently is to support our current sitting senator. Both of the incumbents have had opportunities to work with him and have consistently turned him down because for whatever reason. And I know that that's a frustration when you have only three people there that are representing our entire county. And wouldn't it be lovely if all three of them could somehow find a way to work together? And I've been working with Senator Fincham on things in the background for probably about 3 years. And we see eye to eye, and we are firmly in the same place on many, many things. So that's one way I'm different.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and change gears. Before tonight's debate, you received 3 actual bills from this legislative session, so I just picked one of them for you tonight. Okay. I'll read a short summary of it and then just take a minute or two to tell the voters 2 things, how you would have voted and why.
Okay.
So let's talk about SCR 1020, legislative pay raises. The bill would automatically increase lawmakers' salaries annually rather than having to ask voters for pay raises. How would you vote on this bill?
That would be a big fat no for me. I just know that the way I want to put it is in fact, I have some young friends that just recently went through this. They go before supervisors in their jobs, and they have an annual review. That annual review determines whether they keep the job, whether they get a raise, maybe they get put in a different position. It's an annual review. It's a check and balance. If legislators vote themselves a raise, that no matter what, every year cost of living, you're going to get this raise into perpetuity, becomes part of our Constitution. I don't see how that keeps us on par with the people we're serving. So I would rather see if the people would like to raise the salary. So for instance, the legislature gets $24,000 a year. That's the base pay. But the year, it's considered a part-time job. The year is supposed to end at the end of April. It's really a session. It's not a year. However, as you mentioned before, we have people at the Capitol even yet, and we're in mid-June. It's way past time. And so after the 100 days, 120 days, the pay drops off, and people are basically going to work for no money, and they're on their own dime. So they sign up for it. You know what I'm saying? We sign up for it. So I don't see that as being a problem. But if the public decided, you know what, we just need to pay more because we're asking more, things are harder, it's taking longer to get things done, we have a hostile situation down there where we can't get things accomplished, and the people want to put a referendum to say, let's raise that salary, that's us checking in with our supervisors, right? See what they think. And if they want to grant a pay raise or fire people or move people into another position, that is their prerogative. So I say no.
Gotcha. So big fat no to
Big
lawmakers who
fat no.
themselves pay raises, but you would support it
Yes,
if the voters did.
absolutely.
Gotcha. We're going to go ahead and move into a round of rapid fire questions here. These are short answer, yes or no questions. So try to aim for like 15 seconds. You can add a short reason if you want, but keep it tight. All right. First up, should Donald Trump be allowed to serve a third term as president?
Oh, that's very interesting. So there, boy, that's just a big old can of worms, isn't it? So our Constitution has that we can serve two. However, in time of war, right, we don't change presidents. That would create a weakness for us in time of war. So I think it's going to depend on what the Constitution says at the time that position, that the opportunity comes up. So I would go with the Constitution.
So a maybe.
It's a maybe, but it would be dependent on what's going on.
Okay. Can you name a road, bridge, or intersection in your district that's been broken for too long, needs fixing?
Okay. So I told you before where I live, and I don't want to say that here if you don't mind. Not that it's a super secret thing, but I'm on a 2-lane highway that is extremely deadly. And our supervisor in my district has worked very hard, and there are some improvements, but it is very, very deadly and has been. There is also and those of us that live here, we have meetings, and we would like to see something done. The roads are incredibly expensive, but if I had a perfect wish, as much as that would be amazing, right, to see that, there is Highway 97 out in Baghdad. They need to be able to get the material from the mine to market. They are a huge economic driver for Arizona. And they just need a stretch of road that will accommodate the big trucks. They actually have increased production because seeing the price of copper lately, right? They have been asking, can we please have this stretch of highway to connect and make that road to accommodate our big heavy equipment? They've actually put some money into the project themselves. They've kind of done what they can themselves, but it's a highway. And they're increasing the load exponentially right now on that road. And it's just not right for them to have to deal with that. I'd like to see them have the road they need.
All righty. And last one for you. Who do you think is better for Arizona, Carrie Lake or Karen Taylor Robeson?
Gosh, that's tough. So, I if I all right, are you going to put me into a box to pick one or the other? Because that's kind of like water under the bridge. I'd like to look forward. And so I'm leaning at this time towards Andy Biggs. I think he's got some amazing experience that he can bring. And I love that he has a heart to come back and basically wrest the office from the person who sits there, the ninth floor. Maybe not quite a governor, in my opinion. Maybe more of someone who got appointed to the job. So I would like to see someone who would take the bull by the horns. And here's why I'm interested in Andy Biggs from day one, because he has publicly said, day one, there's no big celebration. Everybody's going to get their pins, and we're going to go back to those bills that were rejected by Veto Katie, and we're going to get those taken care of. So I would like to move forward.
All righty, fair enough. That's our last round of questions. So that means we've reached closing statements. If you want to take about 90 seconds to make your closing case to voters whenever you're ready.
All righty. I'm just going to be real quick. We want to consider the people that serve us. Are they willing to be servant leaders, or are they interested in being managers? And that doesn't matter my race, any other race. I'm encouraging you to just check to see if people are serving themselves, putting agendas in place that serve themselves, or if they're laying themselves aside and they're serving based on getting the mission done that we have tasked them with. The purpose I'm running is to strengthen what we do still have and to restore what's been taken from us. And ultimately, I'm running because you are worth it. You are worth it. I'm the only wild man on the ballot and will be honored to have earned your vote. You can learn more about truth by visiting my website, wildmaninthehouse.com. And I just want to say thank you to the veterans and those who have held the line, our law enforcement, our sheriff's office. They hold the line for us. Otherwise, we'd be even more chaotic than what our political scene allows. So thank you so much, Nicole. And I'm grateful to Clean Elections Commission, and a great big hug out for Mike Becker, who has just made all things possible.
All righty, thank you so much. That concludes tonight's Q&A with Republican primary candidate Shondell Wildman, who's running for the State House in Legislative District 1. Thank you so much to our candidate for being here, and to our voters, thank you for tuning in and informing yourselves ahead of the July 21st primary. For official voter information, you can visit azcleanelections.gov.